Hi, everybody. Well, I've been out today getting a lot of last minute running around to do, and there's one thing for my next cruise that I'm a little worried about. So my next cruise, the main flight is from Toronto, and it leaves at 8 o'clock at night and flies overnight. Fine. My flight from Ottawa leaves at 4 o'clock, and it's about an hour flight. That leaves me 3 hours to get to the gate. And normally that is no problemo. Lots of time, right? Lots of time. However, uh, just stories this weekend that just went by of local flights, Montreal to Toronto, an hour and a half delay leaving. All right, well, I probably still make my flight. And then they sat for an hour and 20 minutes at the gate waiting for someone to let them get off the plane. And this is not the first story. This is hundreds of stories like that this weekend, all over the country, both Canada and the United States, which, it's become ridiculous what's happening at the airports right now. Absolutely ridiculous. How have you not prepared for this? Are people like us who know travel and go travel, are we the only ones who suspected, hey, it might get busy during the summer now that everyone's allowed to travel again? I wonder if we might need a lot of people to help get things through. Yeah, like ridiculous planning, really poor planning. But I decided, well, you know what? There's a flight at 2 o'clock. So that would give me 5 hours before my flight. 6 hours before my flight. I said, okay, maybe I'll try and switch my flight. Now, these flights I booked through Celebrity Cruise Lines with Air Canada. I didn't book them myself. When I called Air Canada, they said I had to contact Celebrity Cruise Lines. Okay. Now, if you remember back a couple months ago, I told you that I had booked the flights, but I hadn't paid for them yet. And I was monitoring in case the prices went down. And instead, the prices doubled on the Air Canada site overnight. And when I went onto my booking, they were still the same price. So I snapped them up and paid for them right away. And the prices haven't gone down. And so when I contacted Celebrity, and I said, hey, can I move my very first flight? Not the continental flight, not the international flight, just the local flight from Ottawa to Toronto, that there's like a ton of flights all day. Can I just switch it to the earlier flight? There's lots of empty seats. I double checked. I made my due diligence. In fact, the same seat I was in at 4 o'clock is available at 2 o'clock. And so you just have to switch me. And they said, yeah, we can, but it becomes a refare. And guess what? In order to switch myself to an earlier time, I would have to pay another $2,100. I can fly back and forth to Toronto 9 times for that. So yeah, needless to say, I'm not going to change my flight. I got too good a deal at the time, but there's a lot of bonuses with booking through the cruise line. And in this case, because there's such a price difference, it actually, well, I can't say it worked against me because I'm still saving that money. But it worked against me if there's delays and I end up missing my flight. That will be a problem. And so, it's only a couple weeks left to go. And I don't know, my friend Alicia also, I don't know if I told you this story, but I asked her, when is she coming? She wanted to visit her family before we fly off. Her family's here in Canada, in the Toronto area. So I said, okay. when do you want to fly in? And she told me a date, and I said, okay, I'll look for flights for her. And I found flights for her, and we booked them. So she has her flights here, flights home, and everything. And she could not have picked a worse day to fly out of the United States, I don't think. Well, maybe the day before this would be worse. She's flying on the 4th of July, which is expected to have 35% more travelers by air than the weekend before. So if there's any delays, she's going to get lots of delays. And yeah, at least her flight is not like she's coming to visit family ahead of time. And she's flying in on the 4th, and we don't fly out till the 9th. So even if there's a delay that day, and then a delay the next day, and a delay the next day, she's still going to make the Toronto on time for our trip. But she missed out on visiting her family. And so that's a big drawback. But yeah, the airport situation is getting ridiculous. So much so that a Ottawa Senator, hockey player here in town, described Pearson International Airport as the worst place on earth when he was flying in and out. And we just had Jeremy Roenick, another ex-hockey player and announcer and author. He just said, yeah, you should see my experience. I was delayed, kicked off, they gave my seats away, I missed my flights, etc., etc., etc. And a week later, he's still missing his luggage. Knock on wood, I've been lucky. I haven't lost my luggage yet. It's all electronic, right? They're supposed to scan everything. Everything's scanned. Well, apparently right now, because they are so short-staffed, a lot of them aren't being scanned, and a lot of luggage is now going missing as well. Well, great. Why put the scanning bar on your suitcase at check-in if they're not going to bother using it when it's coming off the plane to make sure they can find your luggage? So many horror stories going on with air travel. And it should not have been a surprise to any official in any country that, hey, people haven't traveled in 2 years. We're opened up travel again. The restrictions have dropped. Maybe it might get busy. And lo and behold, government was completely caught off guard. Either that, or they just didn't care.